Hi, Lee. I'm so honored and privileged to welcome you today to the Mind Maverick Rosalind Bosco. And our friends, Lei Mohr has experienced near death like experiences thrice. And she has gone to the threshold of death and come back to tell us about her experiences on the other side. And she had her first NDE like experience at 21 after the birth of her second child. And a most interesting and intriguing aspect of her shared death experience with her mother is throws a lot of hindsight into what eternal life is all about. She is also a guide for people who go through frustrating and challenging experiences. Her books, and the most famous of them is There Was No Fear. Are there any other books that you would like to, that you have written, Lay, which you would like to mention?
There's there's one that's pretty popular. It's called Dream It, See It, Live It, and it's about how to live your dream.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lay, for this honor and privilege. So, can you tell me about your first near death experience?
Like you said, I was 21, and the birth had been the pregnancy was fine, and the birth was very, very difficult. He kept turning flip-flops inside my stomach when I was in labor, and in order for the medical people present to get him so that he could come out, so he was not so he was straight and he didn't have any cords around him, he had to be turned around, so they physically reached up inside of me and turned him around. It was extremely painful, but he came into the world and everything was fine. He was healthy, and uh, because of the way that he came in, and I don't blame the medical people at all. Um, they, I came down with a very high infection a couple days after he was born. It was 111 Fahrenheit, which is 44 degrees Celsius. So it was very, very high. I was in the hospital and I was very, very sick. I was not moving at all, and then all of a sudden I sat up and I looked behind me, and there on the bed was my body. There was no emotion. There was no pain, no feeling, no anything. Just, oh, there it is. And then I floated into floated out of the body and into a very dark, pitch black, beyond black, no sensory perception at all tunnel. Or I assume it was a tunnel. I couldn't see, but I was moving through it. And then I came to, and it felt like it was complete bliss, complete relaxation, complete non-judgment, extreme unconditional love. It was the most beautiful, wonderful feeling I could ever imagine. And I just floated through this, and I came to what I thought was a like a room. It was a widening, something like that. That, at least that's how I perceived it. And I stopped. But it felt the same way. And I'm like, okay, as long as it feels this good, I'm here. And so I was there for I there was no time, and I don't know how long any of this lasted, but I was there, and I heard more than felt, or there's still no sensory perception at all. I heard a voice which I perceived to be male, and it was the most gentle, kind, loving, non-judgmental voice. And he asked, "Do you want to come now?" I instantly knew what it was he was asking. I panicked. There was just a split second of panic. And I said, "I can't. I have two children to raise." And I felt more than saw a nod of his head. And I went down the tunnel and back in my body, plop, and the fever broke, just like that. And the next day I was out of the hospital. And this was before technology. I didn't have the ability to look it up and find out what was going on. I had no idea what was going on. I knew one thing with I had been raised by a strict Catholic father, and he and my mother were divorced and had been divorced since I was 6. But there's this foundation, and I knew that if I told anybody what had happened to me, I would be rejected. People would hate me. I would go into hell. You name it. So I put it inside of me and I didn't even remember it for decades after that. What I did come out of it with, though, is the sense that I had a purpose in being here. I had chosen to be here, and I was here for a reason, that I belonged here at this time, which was foundational for the rest of my life.
Thank you so much, Lei, for the beautiful description of your first experience, especially about the void, because uh, we as humans are always afraid of nothingness. So if we are always open to stimulation. We need something to happen all the time. But when you describe the place, which was pitch dark, as I think, but then you did not have fear, but you felt like I've heard some people being expressing it as a kind of being in the womb. Do you think it was similar to that? All that reassurance and the love that we lose connection with in this process of our earthly life. Uh, I'm so happy because, and there are some who say that they were shocked. Um, but then your experience is so reassuring because you say that you felt all the unconditional love and you were given the option
Mhm.
whether you wanted to come and you had the choice to come back and assume your duties once more. Thank you so much, Leigh, for this beautiful experience. And I would like to ask you this second question, which I think will be which is very important for us nowadays, even for me, because we hate being challenged or provoked or being instigated, you name it. Uh, but then, in your experiences with your mother, you have a beautiful insight about the experiences you had with your mother, even though it doesn't seem to be a very perfect mother-daughter relationship. You were able to understand more about it after your experience. I think, was it after your shared death experience with your mother or sometime during? Can you please explain to our audience why, who are the people who challenge us?
Who are the people who challenge us are the ones probably that we are supposed to that are supposed to most love us. That's the ones that are most challenging to us. So if I may, I will tell you a little bit about that experience.
Please.
First of all, my mother was 16 when she got pregnant the first time, and 16 when she got married and pregnant the first time. And she continued to have 6 kids in 7.5 years after that. This is more than most people could handle, and it was more than she could handle. She was angry, she was frustrated, she was overwhelmed, and she took that out on all of us. She at one point tried to kill me. I believe she tried to kill each of the members of my family at some point in time. Um, and I was very much the whipping child for one of my sisters. It was not a good situation. I got out as soon as I could. As soon as I turned 18, I was gone. And I didn't turn back on that for several decades after that. But there came a point in time when my mother, uh, she shot my now former sister-in-law uh, 5 times in the head at point blank range and killed her, leaving her 2 grandchildren, ages 6 and 8, motherless and grandmotherless at the same time. She spent the last 15 years of her life in prison for it. And uh, I hadn't talked to her in decades. Uh, and so I didn't know much about her except that she was in prison. And I was going along, living my life, supporting and guiding people and such. But I came to the point where I realized there was something missing. Something was wrong. Something wasn't, I wasn't being able to be the best me I could be. And I thought about it and thought about it, meditated on it, all kinds of things. It's got to be that mother relationship, mother-daughter relationship. Okay, I need to do something with this. I need to heal this. And I tried and I couldn't figure out ways. And I had someone that I know who said that she had been through a similar experience to mine in childhood, and that she had found a way to see her parents as loving her enough to give her the foundation to be who she would become. I thought, oh, that's great for you. That's not me. And I went on a little bit further, and I couldn't do anything. So finally I did what so many people can, anybody can do this. If you really want an answer to a question, you ask it with a lot of emotion and like a real need to know. And so I said to nothing, everything, all that is, whatever you want to call it, how do I heal this? I instantly saw myself in a theater, and I was the only person in the theater. It was all dark, and I was the only person in the theater. And I thought, okay. And then I looked up on the stage, and there up on the stage was the director, and the director was me. And then I saw the actors, and the actor was me. And I looked in the back, and I saw up there in the booth the producer. Oh, the producer's also me. Oh, and then right next to me is the script writer, also me. And I went, this is really interesting. And then I saw my life going across the stage as a play. And I went, oh, this is what it's all about, isn't it? It's all a play. It's not real. And so I continued thinking about it a little bit, and it came to me, if if we're all actors, that she was just playing her part in my life. And at that moment, I got a lot of joy within me, because I realized that she and I, before we ever came here, had made an agreement to do exactly what we had done, so that I could have the foundation to be able to be who I am today, and to be able to be able to understand all of the traumas that might come to me, so that I could support and guide other people. And that was really wonderful. But then there was one more piece to it. The script writer, if I didn't like the way that the script ended, I had the ability to change it at any time
Wow.
by choice. And I could easily, I can't take away the events that happened, but I can re-see them in a way where, yes, they happened, yes, they were painful, but I can move on from this now because they're in the past, and I'm rewriting the script to be that it was for my benefit, so that I could be who I am now, and that she loved me.
Wow.
And with that, I gained great peace. But that wasn't the end of it. She's still in prison at this time when I did this. 3 months later, it's in December now, and um, everything's going along splendidly. And then all of a sudden, sorry about that. All of a sudden, all of a sudden, I woke up one morning, and I was just jittery, and I had no idea what's going on, and I can't do anything about it. I tried every method I could find to calm it down. Nothing, nothing touched it. I didn't know what was going on. I had no words for it. I just was doing this. And then on the third day of doing this, I woke up and I was in the greatest bliss and freedom and love. Oh, it was a wonderful feeling. And I still had no idea what it was. Later that day, my brother, who's now former wife, she had killed, and was the only contact that the prison had for her, for my mother. My brother called me and he said, I tell you, her mother died this morning. And I went, and I told him what had happened. And I knew somehow I had shared her passing with her. And I later learned that that's called a shared death experience, but I didn't know that at the time. I just had had this experience with her. After she was gone, I had a much better relationship with her than I had ever had when she was in Florida, because I now knew that she had loved me enough. Because all of us are beings of light and love. That's our energy. That's how we were created. Everything that we have here on this earth we play is our play, but it's not real. We all play our parts so that we can do whatever it is we're here to do. And knowing that, I could have a better relationship with her.
I have a question for you here, Lei. Uh, do you respect your mother because of the role she agreed to play? Do you respect your mother more because of the role she agreed to play uh, in your lives as a kind of what would be looked upon as a very negative influence? How do you feel? Do you think she would have achieved her liberation? Because since she also would have been a part of the planning before her birth, isn't it? So unless she had agreed to do this, this wouldn't have happened. So, what do you think of your mother as a soul?
I respect that she had the strength to be able to be a loving being who agreed to do all those horrible things, even though they would be told they in this experience they would be seen as horrible, painful, awful, and she would be seen that way. But through love, she agreed to do that. And I respect that she had the strength to do that.
And probably because of this, she was able to bring out a whole lot of uh, knowledge about what should be done and what probably should not be done for the others. Am I right?
Well, she would have never been able to have that experience because we none of us had any contact with
Okay.
her. But I think what you're asking here is, did she learn anything from this? I think she did. I think being a being of light and love, having the experience of doing these things was probably just as painful as being the person who had it done to them.
Yeah. So while I was listening to one of your videos, I saw that you experienced other beings in your second ND. So did you see any spiritual, um, entities or the light? Can you explain it a little bit more for us?
So this is several years before the shared death experience, and I got very, very, very sick. I didn't have any way of measuring the temperature at the time, but it was in late summer, hottest time of the year. And I had every blanket, every coat, every piece of clothing I could put on me, and I was still shivering. So I had a very, very high fever. And I just at one point in time, as I'm sitting there in this fever, I went somewhere. I don't know how I got there. There was no tunnel or passage or anything, just it was there. And it was a place that was very indistinct, very foggy like, but not cold or wet, just and warm and loving. But everything looked kind of a gray, pink, brown, orange. It was it was I can't really describe it very well because I couldn't see anything except this bright pink, brown, orange kind of color like, but it felt the same as the NDE did. And so I'm like, okay, I'm good with this. But I did notice that there were a whole bunch of beings and I could not see them. I could hear them, but I could not see them. And there was a lot of them. And they were chanting to me, "You have done what you came here to do." Over and over, they were chanting this together. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. What? And as soon as I realized what it was they were saying, I was back in my body. I'm like, okay, this is weird. But they said I have done what I came here to do. If I have done what I came here to do, and I'm still here, now I'm super, super, super weak. So I'm not doing a lot. But I'm like, maybe I'm not going to be here very long. And maybe I better learn how to really do this, how to in this particular experience well. And so I started studying everything I could find from Ram Dass, of course. Ram Dass is the one for this. And I studied and I studied. I was studying everything. And I learned from reading and from studying everything I took from him that we don't die, that we are energy, and energy cannot be killed. We will at some point no longer have this experience. We'll leave this experience and this body, but we don't die. And that when we do get freedom from this very enclosed space called the body, it is the greatest freedom you could ever have, which is what I felt later on with my mother. Freedom. So I'm learning all this stuff, and I'm still really weak, and I'm laying down on the couch, looking out my window. I'm in Hawaii, and this is December because this is he's to pass. And then actually at this point in time, he had passed. He passed like the day before. And I'm sitting on this couch, and I'm looking out toward the carport. And on the far side of the carport, where there is nothing but forest, thicker than the forest behind you, forest. And there's no path there. And I'm just sitting there on the couch, and I watch somebody walk by. Somebody's walking by. And I thought about it for just a second. And I looked over at him, and he turned to me and he winked at me. And I'm like, he's visiting me after he left. And I thought, okay, this is really cool. And after he was gone, I mustered the strength to get up and go out there. And there on the ground in December, middle of December, winter, plants are not fruiting at this time. There were 4 guavas in the shape of a diamond under the tree, the guava tree that he had walked by. He'd left me a gift so I wouldn't be confused, that I would know it was him.
I think it would be typical of Ramdas to do it, isn't it? He had a sense of humor. And why were you so, I mean, can you tell us why you love him so much?
He was my first real spiritual teacher. And I mean, I'd had others. I've been doing yoga for years and years and such, but he was the first real spiritual teacher. And I loved him so much because he did have that sense of humor, but he also was very human. He was very humble, and that what he taught was so real to me. And like I said, I knew that when he left form, he wanted us not to grieve, but to celebrate his freedom. And I was celebrating his freedom, and that's why he came and showed himself to me at that.
What a beautiful experience, Lee. And besides Ramdas, you haven't have you seen any other entity as a form or as a being?
That's hard to say because everything that we see is an entity or a form, and everything that we see is a perception. None of what we see is really real. It's all part of the,
Yeah,
whether you call it simulation or dream time or whatever it is, this is all perception.
yeah.
So everything we see is a form, but it's
Uh,
all the same energy.
yeah, thank you so much. Can you tell us a little bit about the wisdom keepers?
The wisdom keepers came to me. They had been channeling through me, though I didn't know that's what it was called, since the first NDE. But I didn't know that. I had no name for it, and I had a whole lot of limiting beliefs to get through before I could actually admit it. Well, there came a point in time when they were coming through much more regularly, and I didn't know who they were. I called them the guides because that's all I could call. And then just before, in June of 2023, right by the time of the solstice, there was this thing called the Schumann resonance anomaly. I didn't know that at the time, had no idea what was going on, but I knew that there was something happening and that there was an energy. And the wisdom keepers had just barely given me their name. They said they were the wisdom keepers. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, during that Schumann resonance anomaly, they actually showed themselves to me. I was
Okay.
looking out my window by the front room, and my neighbor next door, she's got a lot of animals over there, and the place in the back is not necessarily a place you want to walk through. It's kind of messy, and that's okay. But right there, in front of all of that mess, were these beings,
Wow.
and they came forward. They didn't give me names,
Hmm.
but they told me who they were, where they were from. The first one was the Atlantean, and she was
Oh,
drop dead gorgeous, beautiful, beyond belief beautiful,
okay.
very tall, very thin, and wearing a light blue cloak. And then she had the little wrapped tiara on her head, which I now know was something to do with energy and such. And then the next one was the man from Mu, which many people call Lemuria mistakenly, but it's not Lemuria, it's Mu. And he looked very much like a very short box next to her. She was probably 6 or 7 feet tall, and he was less than 3 feet tall. But he was muscular, fat, and he was he looked like a box. And then there were some others who came through. There was the one from Chaco, and there was the one from and there was the one from Egypt, and they're all parading by me, and I'm like, wow, wow.
Oh, what?
I'm just amazed.
Yeah.
And that's how they introduced themselves to me.
Wow. What a wonderful experience, Lee. And what is your opinion of hell? Can you, I mean, I need a very brief description of your opinion of hell.
Hell does not exist except as we create it in this particular experience. We can be in hell if we want to. We can choose not to be if we want to, but it does not exist beyond this experience. That
So,
was a creation of humans
yeah.
to
So,
control them.
yeah, I mean, we can be out of this, we can be out of hell when we choose, and through our own choices, we put ourselves in that place of hell. So I had a recent I interviewed Peter Panagore recently, and he also had a very beautiful explanation about I mean the darkness and how he tried to hide the darkness, but then he and he also said the same thing that it is something that we ourselves create. So, Lei, can you tell us, please, where people can find you, your website, and other? I would also give everything in my description of this video, but can you also tell the viewers where they can find you?
My website is Handle the Shift, SHIFT. You can find me all over YouTube. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Facebook. And all you have to do is look up my name in any one of those and you'll find me. Uh, I, I gave you a list of all of those
Yeah,
contacts. If you want to add that, you can.
yeah.
I don't think I need to go into it any further than that.
Okay. So, what is your message to human beings? See, the main purpose why we spend, I mean, people like you spend so much time and energy and attending IONS conferences. Now, there are movies being made about it. And, but in this part of the world, we many are just getting introduced to the topic because even if people have some experiences, they are not willing to share before so many years. Like people here feel the way you did before so many years because of all that condemnation and non-acceptance among society and people who are closest to you. So, what is your message to human beings in general, and what would you like to learn? What would you like people to learn from your experiences?
My message would be there is no death, and not to be afraid of leaving this form. If you are not afraid of leaving the form, you can live life much fuller, more fully, and you can enjoy life. And the point of being here, we come here to experience first separation, which we get as soon as we are born. And the idea is to make our way back to the connection of oneness with everything. And so the lesson would be, how can each and every one of us move on from separation into more complete oneness with everything?
Thank you so much for that message, Lay. And one additional question I would like to ask you is you had explained that through your experiences or what the wisdom keepers told you, that there was a peaceful way to pass on. We are afraid of death. Can you explain it to us very shortly?
I sure can. And it's pretty simple. If you live a really good life, you are much more likely at the end of it to not have regrets or limiting beliefs or anything that is holding you back. And you will have a much more calm and peaceful leaving of form.
Thank. And does self-love come into the picture, Lay? Because there are people who don't love themselves. How important is self-love in this, in our lifestyle?
Well, you have to have self love in order to truly love anyone else. And when you understand that you are source, created by and of source, you also understand that if you love source, you must love yourself because there's no disconnection there. There's no separation.
Thank you so much, Lay, for giving me this beautiful experience. And I I hope that this message finds as many people as possible. And even if it would benefit a few people, I think it's worth the effort that you are making to shift human consciousness for the better. Thank you, namaste, and much love to you from India. And see you.
Grateful
So,
for this opportunity. Thank you.
thank you so much.